Nightstalker 314, which, by the way, hello. We've been tweeting back and forth for many years. Said, I would say ever since WoD, the tolerance for fuck-ups has gotten less and less. Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a large part of it. There's also those of us who were, watching Blue Please, Total Biscuit show back in Wrath of the Lich King, and then Azeroth Daily, all of that stuff. I think in that era there was not always a humongous amount of breadth and latitude being given to Blizzard, but certainly since it's hit Wrath of the Lich, or what? Since it's hit, post WoD, it's like, it's not just like the internet-y bit of the WoW fandom. It seems like it has actually just spread real big. Which, it's stuff in tomorrow's like more formal news video. I go off property on it, but it's that thing where I think if people have perceived that Blizzard are generally so far behind and always playing catch up, then perhaps it just erodes their confidence in basically in the team's ability to deliver a consistently good World of Warcraft experience. And I think that's an important thing, because I even remember, I don't know if it was Ian, but there was somebody in the WoW team said that one of the things they'd always get pretty regularly in exit polls is people getting like too much change. You're like, oh, my class changed, I didn't like it anymore, so I stopped playing the game. So it seems like that's something they really got pretty hard back from players, which I mean is interesting, because they've just kind of went a bit wild in classes most expansions for the last while. But if that applies to people's classes, I mean, surely it's going to apply to the general state and reliability of World of Warcraft. I think it's that thing where, this is not called Shadowlands 9.1.
Yes.
And I remember I actually cannot remember who or what context it was. I'm sure it's fine to say, but I remember a Blizzard employee saying to me that they were moving away from numbered releases. And it was like in between the lines, my read in that was that if it's like a little, point something release, then, it just seems like an update, just seems like a patch. Whereas this is Chains of Domination, boys. This is big. So it seems like they've had to, therefore, go with more of a reliance on those sort of like big spiky things, like WoW Slans COD, which is coming up.
WoW Slans COD, fantastic.
Okay, so expect July. That is the main thing. I would say middle to late July. August is very, very much in the realms of possibility. I think, Towley is somebody that I would have, high confidence in when it comes to that particular thing. Yep. Now, what we really wanted to talk about when we decided to sort of bother to do this one in today's news was, of course, what this means for the rest of Shadowlands. So, what do you think it means for the rest of Shadowlands?
It's hard to say, because obviously 9.1 starts in late July, August. Then there's kind of two options as far as I see it. Okay, there's 9.1, which comes out and there's a lot more content than expected, and it's great, and everyone's like, woohoo, yay, fantastic, woohoo, and then we're just happy until we're done with that in a couple months, and then we're like, where's 9.2 Blizzard? And they're like, we'll get right on that. Sorry about that. Sorry about the wait. And then it's like 6 months again down the line or later. Or the other one is 9.1 comes out and it's a little bit lax in content. And then like 9.2 comes a bit quicker. Maybe in like 3 to 4, maybe 5 month kind of place. And then no one wants to wait for that. So Blizzard are in a really tough place whether to decide like how quick should 9.2 be. Because I imagine they had all of their 9.1 plans in place whenever they hit 9.2. Like, okay, here's the big next patch. But I'd say they have to work out, do they want 9.2 to be a little bit more barren and come out quick after this, or do they want 9.1 to hold the fort for another 6 months? Are we going to see a full year before we get to 9.2? That's kind of that's where they're in a really tough place, I think.
Yeah, so that thing where what you basically said was, will it be a year? What you said is, will patch 9.2 be in 2020 bloody 2?
I guess that's what I said, yes.
Will patch 9.2 be in 2022? Like January 2022, like Visions of N'Zoth was. Or to be, how we would more traditionally refer to it as 9.3.
8.3.
8.3 even. Of course, not how Blizzard would want us to refer to it. And that is, I think, fundamentally a bit of a shit situation, right? Like, the way that this should have been, my dudes, is 9.0 launch, we cap out Renown, 9.0.5 that comes with narrative content, Brawlers Guild-ish things, you know, little small bits of texture and stuff, in the same way that, you know, that, like, in Legion and BFA, those 0.5 patches did that. And then we should have been looking at, like, a May release date for this patch, for that patch even. And, you know, that would be a May release date, which is a lot sooner than we're getting. And we probably should have had a content update in between launch and that patch. That's what you would expect based on Legion. And it's actually what you would have expected based on some little bits of the BFA patch cycle. Because with BFA, they obviously had their issues and were behind, but shockingly, BFA is actually speedy in comparison to Shadowlands right now. So that is rough. That is really, it's weird. We need to be in that stage where your monthly sub fee always feels justified. And I really do feel like my sub fee was well justified in November. Obviously, I mean, it was only 7 days of playing the new expansion, so obviously, I had a blast. In December, absolutely. In January, I'd say absolutely, because we were raiding, having a great time. But then as it's went on to February and March and April, you know, the stuff has worn thin, and now is really about the time where something new would have made a lot of sense, and I do not count 9.0.5 as a content patch.
Well,
9.
Yeah,
it wasn't a content patch.
It wasn't.
It was a tweak.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was a glorified hotfix with some balance stuff. So it's rough for Blizzard trying to run this subscription model, right? And I don't know what the launch cadence is for other MMOs. Like, I don't know what it's like over in Final Fantasy XIV land, or it's pointless to mention Guild Wars because it doesn't have a subscription fee, but I just feel like a monthly subscription. Okay, I guess Destiny's going to come into this, because Destiny 2 is a game where, you know, you buy it, and then the way it used to be is you'd buy, you know, each bit of the season pass, or, each DLC as it would come out, and you just sort of add those onto your account. World of Warcraft feels far more to me right now like, okay, imagine Classic doesn't exist. Right now, the WoW business model, this is a DL, Chains of Domination. That doesn't feel like something I should be getting in a sub fee. That feels like a, 20 quid, 25 quid DLC, in the same vein as how Destiny 2 would do it. And I think the way that World of Warcraft has got to justify its subscription fee is that we get something like Chains of Domination every 6 months, and then in between that, we get those minor content patches, like 7.1.5, 7.2.5, things like that. That's what we really, really need.
Yeah, if we want to compare it to Destiny, obviously then Destiny's got the season pass, where you buy all of the content update stuff ahead of time instead of individually. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Instead of buying each season, you get the whole year of it, and then that's like 3 or 4 major content updates that come along with your expansion.
Yeah, it's different now for Destiny.
Is it different now? I'm thinking back in the Forsaken days. Maybe it's.
Well, on Destiny, it always just used to be you'd have a base Destiny 2 account, and then what else you could do was based on whatever they'd done to the overall base game experience, but then what DLCs you'd purchased. Like, you'd have to buy, not Taken King. That was D1, wasn't it?
Your Forsaken,
Forsaken,
your Shadow Keeps and stuff. Yeah, no, so I remember they tried the Season Pass model, but I can't remember how much content that allowed access to, versus, obviously you could play the game, whatever, but I wasn't sure if that added more stuff. But I just remember it being the point I'm trying to make is that it almost acted like the 6-month sub by itself, where you're like, okay, I'm going to put this much down front, and like this is a down payment for all the content you're going to bring me throughout the year, and that model kind of what they're aping with this, but they aren't delivering on it, or nor are they framing it in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, a 6-month sub to WoW for us is 52 pounds.
Yes.
Pounds of what, says the American. I don't know what it is in dollars, guys, sorry. Which, you know, is pretty, I think, pretty steep. Basically, for me, the WoW, considering that I purchased Shadowlands.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, I bought Shadowlands. I bought Shadowlands and then 6 months, meaning that whole launch bit of Shadowlands costs box price, plus in Blizzard's ideally 6 months of game time, so another 52 quid. It doesn't feel like a great deal when they're this slow at getting the content out. So I think what that means is do not do the 6-month sub, probably. I'm not too sure for how many people it really makes that much sense, unless they're like an avid PvPer of the whole season.
Yeah, I think as far as like my playtime's generally concerned, I think a 3-month sub every content drop would make sense.
Yeah.
As opposed to a 6, and then if they could get something in after those 3 months, I'd be like, it's sweet, fantastic. I could keep that rolling, even if it were in like smaller chunks. But it's just so funny that you're buying the game and then 6 months before anything else actually comes to it. And I think that this is actually, that's probably part of the problem, in terms of that's why Blizzard haven't gotten their shit together, because obviously, like, whenever the money starts to run out, they will be hounded by Bobby's new attack dog until they actually start to make some sort of like super fundamental change that might be expensive. So I think that this model is basically so perfect for them making money, because they can just harvest a 6-month sub every 6 months, and that's like probably doesn't provide anywhere near enough value to most people. So it's like, if this were the Destiny model, how many people would cough up that much money for a patch, and then they'd have to change their tune? Or if they weren't so good at harvesting 6-month subs with months, then they would have to change their tune as well.
Yeah. So it's rough.